This is John Cullen with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode we're going to do a comparison of two appliances that make nut milk, but actually one of them makes a lot more than nut milk, and we've been selling this, the Nutramilk, at Discount Juicers actually since it was introduced many years ago. It has been a good seller, and we have had very few customers with complaints about it. Everybody that we've sold it to, for the most part, except maybe one person, love it! So in this episode, we're going to compare the Nutramilk with the popular Almond Cow that also has had some amazing press and YouTube videos about it. And I'm going to share with you guys my opinions on these two machines and which one you should buy. Alright, so the first thing I want to say is that I would encourage you guys to get off the cow's milk and get onto plant milks, nut milks, seed milks, and other kind of milks. And both these machines will allow you to make many different kinds of milks. Now, some of the machines may have some limitations on the kind of milks it can make because it's how they operate. But here's the other thing. While the Almond Cow is really pretty much made for only making nut milks, the Nutramilk has multi-functions. It could not only make nut milks, but could also make things like nut butters and seed butter. So you could increase your essential fatty acids and get more beneficial fiber from all the amazing seeds and nuts. In addition, you can use this as a food processor as it comes with the base assembly. But if you want to upgrade, you can also get the upgraded food processing unit, which basically turns the Nutramilk into a food processor with little arms that wipe down the sides. So this would be perfect for making things like tahini and things that would normally get stuck to the sides of your food processor. In addition, you can make your own smoothies with this, and including things like frozen fruit sorbet. Just by putting frozen bananas and frozen fruits in here, turning it on, letting the machine run, it'll grind it all up into a nice consistency like ice cream using only frozen fruit. So surely the Nutramilk does a lot more than simply the Almond Cow that will only make nut and seed milks. Now, the other thing I always compare for you guys is the price. Of course, the Nutramilk is over twice expensive as the Almond Cow, but I personally believe it offers a better value despite being more expensive. I mean, you guys get what you pay for. This is a heavy-duty unit, and this is not light. If you guys don't like heavy appliances that are built solid, and you gotta like move it here and there, I mean, it has handles on the sides, you can pick it up. This thing's heavy. If you want something lighter, I mean, this thing's a lot lighter with a handle on the back, a lot easier to manage and pick up. That being said, the Nutramilk was made literally from the ground up to be used in coffee shops and cafes to make nut milk on a commercial scale, because the owner, the original inventor of the Nutramilk, you know, went to a coffee shop and he doesn't drink cow's milk due to allergies or other reasons. And he wanted some nut milk, and he always sees them pour out nut milk from a container that has preservatives and all these artificial things, natural flavors and sweeteners in there. So he wanted a way that coffee shops could make nut milk to add to their high-end coffee instead of just some, you know, crappy bottled stuff. And that's what he did. So this is literally NSF commercial certified. So this can be used in restaurants and juice bars to make nut milk, but also more importantly in your home. And know this, when you're buying this, you are buying a commercial duty unit, literally a unit that has been designed to run hours and hours and hours each day. Now, unless you have a super large family, you won't be doing that, but that is literally what you're getting with the Nutramilk. You're getting a solid performing item that has a 2-year warranty. Over on the Almond Cow, you know, this machine is, let's be honest here, this is derived from the soy milk makers that originated in Asia. And the original ones of these kind actually had a built-in grinder like this does, but also it had an heating element. The Almond Cow takes out the heating element, so now you can't make even the soy milk, and they basically raise the price. So it costs like almost double the amount of other equivalent units that could do the same thing but also make soy milk. If you guys are looking for a more inexpensive version of the Almond Cow, and the Almond Cow only has a 1-year warranty, I would recommend the Soya Bella by Trivest that has a 2-year warranty. It can make nut milks just like the Almond Cow, but also it can make soy milks, and it has a built-in heating unit in the base. It is also stainless steel, from a company that I trust, try this. The link is down below to both the Soy Bella and the Nutramilk if you guys are interested in learning more. So now I want to show you guys actually how these machines work. They're very different in how they work, and it is very important that you understand the differences so that you know what you guys are getting and you can make the appropriate choice for you and your family. Alright, so we'll start with the Almond Cow. I do like Almond Cow that it has a removable plug here in the back. So the base is basically plugged in, and it's basically a stainless steel carafe here. And you just basically have to fill this with water up at least to the minimum mark. I think the minimum mark, once you fill it up to the minimum mark, it's like 5 cups of water. So you have to fill it up with 5 cups of water minimum, or maximum about 6 cups of water. Other than that, it might get too full and then, you know, boil over or whatever. Okay, that's the first step. Add the water or other liquid of your choice. You know, I like to use coconut water many times. Now the next part on here, there's a top and there's a one easy button. So for people that, you know, just want things easy and not complicated, press the button, it works, and that's all it does, because when you press this button, what it does is it turns on this little blade here, which is like a blending blade, for a specific amount of time. They say that you should maybe run it 2 or 3 cycles if you guys are making a nut milk. I don't know why they just don't have it go, you know, turn on for twice as long or 3 times as long just by pressing the button once. You know, that escapes me. And then what happens is you fill up your nuts or other almonds or seeds in this little container here, and this container holds about only 1 cup of nuts or seeds at one time. You cannot overfill it. And basically you have the nuts or seeds in there. You put this top on, and what happens is when you press this button, it starts grinding this up. So the nuts get all ground up inside there. There's little holes in here that then will then the water's in the bottom, and it's sloshing around just because of the cyclonic action of the blender blade in here. So it's mixing it, and you know, the bits that are smaller than the screen size comes out into the water, and then when you're done, you have all this leftover pulp in here that you'll see when I make it. So this is basically an extracted nut milk that's literally giving you, I would call it nut water, because you're getting a little bit of the flavor of the nuts into the water. And once again, it's 5 cups of water. To me, that's more water than I would like. Normally I would use a ratio of like at least 1 cup almonds to 4 cups water, but once again, you don't have a choice with the Almond Cow. You have to use 5 minimum, and maybe even 6. Alright, so that's how this works. The Nutramilk is a lot more complex, so if you're not the sharpest tool in the shed, you might want to go for the Almond Cow. But if you guys could figure it out, and this thing is not hard to use, there's like, you know, a couple buttons on here: butter, mix, dispense, start, up and down. That's all there is. Super simple, super easy. It might be intimidating to start, but I'll show you guys how easy it is to use. Now the thing is, on this machine, you have a little button here. You press the button, you could lift this up. This motor basically spins these little tines here to wipe down the sides. So this makes sure you get the all the nuts get fully ground up and go into the blades assembly in the bottom. If we take this assembly off, there's a few parts, you know. So here's the thing: Nutramilk will be harder to clean than the Almond Cow, simply because there's like 3 parts to clean on that, and there's a lot more on here. So we're gonna first take off the lid here. And then we have these tines, the arms that basically agitate the nuts around so they don't get stuck to the side. And they basically go in to the stainless steel blade as it's running around. In addition, you have this. This is the screen. So on this screen, you have a screen material here and here. And how this works is, let's go ahead and assemble this for you guys. Super simple, super easy. We're going to go ahead and assemble that in place. Put the blade in. Put the movable arms on, and let's go ahead and assemble this all the way locked, and let's go ahead and put it on the top here. Alright, so what happens is you will put in the almonds first, you know, so you could use the least amount of almonds you could use is like 1 cup, but you can put more than 1 cup if you want, so this will allow you to make a bigger batch of nut milk than the Almond Cow. The first stage is you will turn the nuts into butter. So you press the butter button, and in the case of almonds, you're going to punch it down to 7 minutes and hit start, and we'll be doing this in a little bit. It'll turn it into butter, as you guys will see in just a little bit. And then once you have it into the butter, then you open the machine up, you add your desired amount of water, right? And you get to choose how much water you want. What does that mean? That means you get to choose if you want a thicker cream, like to add to your espresso or whatever, or if you want a more watery nut milk, like the Almond Cow. I mean, you could literally add 5 cups of water like the Almond Cow, or even 6, but to me that's getting pretty watery. I like to do like 4 cups of water, 1 cup of nuts. But then again, you could even do more. You let that spin around for a while on the mix cycle. Once it's done, you then press the dispense button, and then you turn it on, and then all the milk will get dispensed out into your container, and you are ready to go. Now the cool thing about the Nutramilk is that this is a no-waste nut milk maker. So unlike the Almond Cow that's going to leave you with some of the pulp, you know, some beneficial fiber and probably some nutrients left in the pulp, the Nutramilk literally turns your nuts or seeds into butter, so you get the full flavor, all the fat and all the essential fibers in your nuts and seeds into the nut milk you're making, because then they go through the hole, so it's like a really fine particulate, so you don't really detect like any big large fragments like if you just blended up nuts in the blender, right? That's different because now you're not straining it. This grinds it up so finely, plus it strains it through the holes that you have a really nice tasting nut milk. Now of course you're thinking, John, wait, don't you make nut butter in this? Yes, so that's the thing. You can make nut butter, and then you can just stop the machine and not add the water. Then you can have your own fresh nut butters. I don't know about you guys, but if you go to buy nut milk, yeah, I mean, nut milk's expensive in the stores, but nut butter is even more expensive than nut milk. So you guys could save so much money by making your own nut butters. And make sure you guys check my other videos. I'll put links down below. Some of the videos I've made in the past with the Nutramilk, showing how to make nut milks, how to make nut butters, how to do some really cool stuff with it. I mean, I like to make flavored nut butters using nuts and freeze-dried fruits to basically ranch up the phytonutrients in my nut butters. Actually, I just had my coconut butter with wild blueberry, you know, spread on dates a little bit earlier. I think I made that in the Nutramilk. Now the other thing I made recently in the Nutramilk was my own chocolate bars, which was insane. You could literally use this attachment here and put raw cacao nibs in here. Let this run for, I don't know, 20 minutes. Literally the cacao nibs will turn into a liquid. It'll literally turn into a butter, and then you pour that out into molds and put it in the fridge, and then it'll harden up. You'll have 100% cacao bars with no sugar added. For those of you guys that want to get those beneficial polyphenols. Now I don't recommend eating all those at once because it's like a dark chocolate, but just break off a little square every day so you guys can feed your microbiome some of those polyphenols and get some of those essential things like magnesium and antioxidants in us. So yeah, I really love Nutramilk. So what did you guys learn so far? So as you guys learned so far, the Nutramilk does so much more than just make the nut milks. It makes a total nut milk, or a waste-free nut milk that's more rich and creamy and thick and delicious. And you guys learned the Almond Cow makes a more watery nut milk. So I guess next what I want to do is we're going to go ahead and make nut milks in both these machines and show you guys the results, and I'm going to get to taste testing for you. So as you guys can see, we're all set up and ready to make the nut milk. We got basically 5 cups of water here, 4 cups over here, and we got basically a heaping cup of nuts on both sides. So I think first I'll use the Almond Cow because it is a lot easier. First step is we're going to go ahead and take the 5 cups of water and dump it in the Almond Cow and make sure it goes up to the minimum mark that's inside there. Alright, wow. 5 cups basically just touching the minimum mark now. We're going to go ahead and then unscrew this. And we're going to go ahead and put our almonds. I'm using unsoaked almonds in both cases. You can soak your almonds, and I'm not going to debate that in this video. That's a whole different discussion topic. Then we got to whittle this down in there. And we got to make sure this is on completely tight, because if it's not on tight, it could come loose during the processing. Alright, so we got the almonds locked in there. Next step is we're just going to go ahead and put that on the top. And then the light should light up, and all you got to do is press the button once. What happens is it starts to grind up. It'll probably grind for maybe 60 seconds or so. Oh, and then it stops. That's it. Oh, and then it goes again. All right, so we got through one cycle. We're going to go ahead and start it up again, press the button, but this time we're going to go ahead and put a stopwatch on it to see how long it takes for each cycle. All right, so it takes about 1 minute for each cycle. And I saw some smoke coming actually out of the motor. We ran it only 2 cycles, so I'm not exactly sure what's that about. But then you guys can see this stayed attached. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and let's see. Man, lots of foam in there. We're going to go ahead and carefully remove this. Wow, wow, yeah, look at that. And then we have all this literally wet nut pulp, like a lot of nut pulp in here. Wow, look at that. It's still very wet because, I mean, this is not like a nut milk bag. It does not wring it out. It's basically just grinding it up and having the water mix up into it as it's grinding up. Let's go ahead and put that down, and let's go ahead and pour the results into our cup there, so you guys can see. Now we got the rich and delicious nut milk. Wow, lots of foam, created in that, and there's still foam that's not pouring out of the container there. Interesting. All right, so that took about 2 minutes because it did 1 minute per cycle. I did 2 cycles, but you guys can see we got all this pulp, and we have some nut milk. Next, I want to go ahead and show you guys actually how the Nutramilk works. Once again, we will also time this because this process will take longer, but you will see the benefits of it taking longer. You're going to get a much better extraction, in my opinion. All right, so let's go ahead and first open this unit up. The first step is just to take your almonds and dump the almonds in there. We're going to go ahead and put the top on. Got to make sure you assemble it properly or this machine will not start. We're going to go ahead and hit the butter mode. It defaults to 16. We're going to go ahead and tap it down to 7 minutes. And we're going to go ahead and move this up a little bit closer for you guys so you guys can see what's going on inside there. We're going to go ahead and hit start and hit start on the stopwatch there for you. Alright, so the Nutramilk turned the almonds into literally almond butter, so we could stop this, we could take it all out if we wanted to, and we can put it in jars and store it for almond butter, which would be amazing on itself, but we want to make a nut milk. So the next step is you're going to go ahead and take off the top and you will add your water. You could add as little as like 1 cup or even 2 cups of water if you wanted it super thick and creamy. I'm adding 4 cups because I like that dilution ratio myself. Once you have the water in there, we're going to go ahead and put the lid back on. Lock that back into place there. Then we're going to go ahead and press the mix button. It'll go to 1 minute, and we're going to go ahead and hit the start button. What's it doing now? It's actually mixing the water with all the almonds and extracting it through those holes. So you can see the inside is getting blended up. The outside, all the nut milk is basically coming through those little stainless steel holes into the outside chamber. Centrifugal force is basically forcing all the liquid through the holes. So you're going to get a really fine nut milk on the end. Of course, we got to get our bowl in place to catch all the delicious nut milk as it comes out. Alright, so that step is turned off. Now the last step is we press the dispense button. And then we're going to go ahead and hit the start button again. And now we're going to go ahead and open this spout and watch all this delicious nut milk come right out of the Nutramilk without you having to squeeze it, press out nut milk bags, or nothing. It's doing all the work for you. Now here's the thing, if you guys buy the Nutramilk from Discount Juices, we will give you a special glass collection cup, with a lid that will fit all the nut milk you make that you can actually put in your fridge. This offer is not available anywhere else. So the dispense cycle runs for about 1 minute as it's totally letting the machine empty out completely. We're down to 3, 2, 1, cuts off, and we're down to stop. Nope. I think we're down to about, it took about probably 10 minutes approximately from start to finish on the Nutramilk. Now the other thing I like to do is I like to go ahead and tip this machine up to just get any last residual nut milk out of the machine. As you guys can see, we're draining out a fair bit more nut milk. Alright, once we're done, now you can see we have basically nut milk here. And I want to go ahead and do two things. I want to give you guys a close-up on this, but first I want to go ahead and show you guys actually what's left in the Nutramilk after making the nut milk. You guys can clearly see over here how much pulp we got left on the Almond Cow. Let's go ahead and pull this Nutramilk back a little bit. Of course, we got to clean that. We got to clean the tines. And then we got this inner chamber here that we got to rotate off to pull off. And you guys can see inside there we do have some particulate left. Scraping out this leftover on the almonds that's in the leftover in the Nutramilk. Now here's the thing. If you guys run the Nutramilk longer on the butter cycle, like I ran at 7 minutes, which is the recommended setting for almonds, you could have theoretically gotten the almonds to get broken down into a smaller particle size, so you'd be left with significantly less pulp at the end. Now here's the other thing I'm going to tell you guys. The other thing I'm going to tell you guys is that, I don't make almond milk too much. I usually make cashew milk. If you're doing cashews, the cashews break down significantly better than the almonds do, so that there's barely anything left after you do the dispense cycle. So let's see, let's go ahead and show you guys. This made maybe 8 ounces left in there of waste, and this made, I don't know, it's above the 1 cup mark, so a lot more. Now the other thing I want to point out is that if you guys look at that pulp there's big fragments and bits and pieces. Like if I just go ahead and ate some of that, it's really coarse. It's like a trail mix. It has like the nuts ground up. Really big chunks. There's a lot of nutrients left in those big chunks because this machine was not as effective at grinding out and getting all the nutrients. Whereas if we look at this, there's a lot of water in there, number one. Number two, it's a very fine particle size. It's almost like a nut butter. So in there, it's a lot more finer. Plus, this is actually drying my mouth because I think a lot of the nutrients are already pulled out into the nut milk. Of course, you could dehydrate both these guys and then use it as a nut flour in other recipes. All right, let's go ahead and give you guys a close-up on the yield. So actually, first over on the Nutramilk, you guys could see it's literally right under 1 quart, and we started with 1 quart of water, so that did a very good extraction. We got almost all the liquid out. There's a little bit of a foam layer on there as well. And I want you guys to look at the color. I don't know if you guys can see the color, but it's a little bit darker than the Almond Cow. But if we go over the Almond Cow, remember we start with 5 cups of water, but if we look at the yield, it's actually under 1 quart. So literally, we lost about 1 cup of water in all this pulp. And I want to give you guys also a close-up on the pulp. You guys can see the pulp, like the big fragments of stuff that did not get ground up. In addition, we also have a fair bit of foam, actually a larger foam layer on the Almond Cow. And if we look at the color of the mixture, it's a little bit lighter in color. Let's go ahead and try to put these guys closer together for you guys, to show you guys actually. Even though we start with 5 cups of water in the Almond Cow, the Nutramilk made a little bit more. So you got more of the water out and has a little bit less foam and a little bit darker in color. And finally, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys actually the close-up on the Nutramilk pulp. You guys can see it's really finely broken down, so that's doing a lot better job at grinding and extracting all the nutrients out of your raw almonds. Now the next thing I'm going to say is that while I did use some machines that are specifically designed to make nut milk, as well as do other functions like the Nutramilk can make nut butter, the common way to make nut milk would be just to blend things up in your blender and then use a nut milk bag to strain it out, which you could do, but as with this method, there's no straining, so you don't have to get your hands dirty. Now the other thing that I will say is that I have used in the past a blender, and I prefer to use a vacuum blender these days so you don't oxidize the fragile essential fats when you're grinding them up, and you may oxidize some of them. So I like to vacuum blend them first step, and I would use the Tribest Dynapro vacuum blender. The next step is actually I'll pour that mixture that I've done in the vacuum blender through a juicer. Links down below in the description to some of my videos I have done in the past showing the technique, and that's another way you don't have to get your hands dirty, but then you need a blender and a juicer that will then do the extraction for you. In general, that will get actually even a drier pulp than either of these two methods will. Now the last thing I want to do for you guys is we're going to go ahead and sample the nut milks that I've created today. But before I do, I want to remind you guys and encourage you guys, if you guys are looking to buy a nut milk maker, please support me and my work by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. We sell the Nutramilk as well as the Soy Bella, which I believe to be a better unit than the Almond Cow because it works in a very similar way but also has that heating function and costs less money. Links in the description and first comment that's pinned to the top so you guys could go directly to these items should you want to purchase them. Your purchase allows me to continue to make these comparison videos, which I enjoy doing a lot because I've been on a plant-based diet for over 26 years now, making nut milks and making fresh juices and using all the different appliances that allow you to eat more beneficial plant foods, especially the fruits and the vegetables. So your support is appreciated, and we do have a price match policy if the price is important to you. Alright, so first we're going to go ahead and pour off this Nutramilk milk. Nice and thick there. And then now we're going to go ahead and pour the Almond Cow milk out. So you guys can see that. A little bit more watery there on that one. But yeah, it looks like good nut milk. And once again, you know, no additives. There's really just almonds in here. And I used distilled water actually today. So first we're going to we'll try the Almond Cow. Wow, if you look at the top, you can see this is a lot more white. And this is a little bit darker, you know, because this puts a lot more nutrients and particulate into your milk. Wow, Almond Cow milk to me tastes terrible. I mean, it's basically, it tastes like a really watered down nut milk. Now, I haven't had nut milk out of a bottle or a jar or can or Tetra Pak, so I have no idea what that tastes like because I don't drink those things. But this, to me, is a horrible nut milk. I would not wish this upon my worst enemy. That's my personal opinion there. If you like watery nut milks, and maybe you don't want all the full fat. I mean, when I was growing up, my mom would feed us non-fat milk, right? So if you're used to non-fat milk and you're drinking nut milk and not wanting a lot of fat, this is the way to go. That being said, I want all the fat-rich goodness, the essential fats and all the vitamins, fiber, and phytonutrients, and sterols and stanols and all the crazy nutrients in nuts. And I believe that to be in the Nutramilk nut milk. So let's go ahead and try that next. Wow. Man, that is a full-bodied milk. Now this is plain, unsweetened. Of course, in either of these units, you could have put some, you know, dates in with when it's processing to grind them up to get them sweet without adding any processed sugar. So these are not sweet nut milks whatsoever. This is a lot more rich and thick. The particles basically are ground up so fine I'm not feeling any particulate like when I ate the pulp there, which kind of like left a lot of grit and like made my mouth kind of like a little bit weird. This is super delicious. The other thing I'm going to say is that, you know, this is like non-fat milk and this is like whole milk. So what did you guys like when you were a kid? You guys like non-fat or whole milk? For me, I'm going to have to choose the whole milk every single time. It's got more beneficial fat goodness to make your recipes, to make your cereal or whatever else your smoothies taste a lot better. Plus, because you have more fat, especially if you're blending it in with berries and such, you know, because of the more fat, you're going to get a greater uptake of the polyphenols and phytonutrients and different fat-soluble vitamins in your smoothies. That's delicious. So now the other thing I want to show you guys before I go is how do you store your nut milk so that they last a long time? So how I do it is I take a mason jar and I'll pour the nut milk in the mason jar. Normally people would just cap this off, but I'm not even going to cap it off. What I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and put a vacuum lid on there. You could find fermentation lids on your favorite big box website. Actually, they're not even a big box, they're just an online store. And they come with a vacuum with a pump, and we're just going to go ahead and pump it up. So now what we're doing is removing the excess oxygen out of here. So now this nut milk will not go bad as quickly as if we just capped it off. You know, this I could store easily in the fridge for up to 7 days. Just make sure when you open it up, you're going to remove the vacuum. And then when you store it back, you're going to put the vacuum back on. The more times you do that, you know, it won't store as long because now you're letting the air in to cause the oxidation, to cause the fats to go rancid. Best way to store your nut milk. These are tips that you're literally not going to see anywhere else. What did you guys think of this comparison? Do you guys like the Nutramilk better or the Almond Cow? Now, of course, I got to clean up both these guys, and the Almond Cow will be easy to clean. But I think the Nutramilk is worth the extra work because the milk tasted that much better. You got better utilization out of your nuts. Nuts are expensive, and you're literally throwing a lot more nuts away with the Almond Cow, especially ones that did not get ground up. So like I compare a lot of juicers, and it's like a very non-efficient juicer using the Almond Cow, whereas the Nutramilk is a much more efficient way to make nut milks, in my personal opinion. What did you guys think of this demo? Did you like it? Should I do more videos with the Nutramilk? I've had it sitting here and I don't use it too often because I personally don't make a lot of nut milks. But I think one of my upcoming videos I want to make that 100% raw chocolate in the Nutramilk, as well as make a whole bunch of different crazy, unique nut and seed butters. Those are my favorite uses of the Nutramilk for sure. That being said, if you guys are going plant-based and want to get into more nut milks, I encourage you guys to get, I don't care, one of these machines, or make your own nut milk in a machine instead of buying the cow's milk. Nut milk is a lot healthier for you than the cow's milk, and the cool thing is when you guys are making your own nut milks, you get to choose the mixture. So, you know, for me, if I was doing this, I would probably do mostly almonds with a few tablespoons of flax seeds because people don't know that the almonds are very high in omega-6 fatty acids, which can imbalance you. And if you add a few tablespoons of flax seeds, that'll help give you some omega-3s to balance your omega-3 and 6 ratio even better. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and be sure to share with somebody else that is looking for a plant-based nut milk maker so that they could learn the difference between the Almond Cow and the Nutramilk. I think at the end of this video, I'm going to declare a winner. And while Almond Cow has done a pretty amazing job with their marketing, I think it is an over-glorified soy milk maker that's been on the market for many years now, and it's overpriced too. I would completely go with the Nutramilk, and that's who is winning this nut milk off contest today. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so to miss out on new and upcoming episodes that come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what new appliance I'll be testing, and make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Put a couple links down below to some videos I made with the Nutramilk in the past. But I have a wealth of videos comparing different juicers and vacuum blenders so you guys can get more healthy, beneficial plant foods into you. For me personally, I'd much rather make a vegetable juice than a nut milk, because nut milk, while it is concentrating some of the fats and you have a nice, fatty flavor, green vegetable juices, especially made with a lot of leafy greens, are really where it's at for the powerhouse packed of nutrition. Maybe even better yet, add a little bit of nut milk to your green juices to make them taste better and get better absorption on those fat-soluble vitamins. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.